All right, everybody. How's it going, everybody? Whew, we got ourselves a show. Welcome, welcome, all who are watching this afterwards. I know y'all exist. Um, let's wait until we have some of these people in here joining us. How are you guys in this fine evening, this fine night? Doing well. All right, I already got Jarvis Williams over here. What up, Mad Mike and AFN? You know what? We are together. So, um, what up, Noah? Noah, Noah. Just remember that from now on. You're good for the first time. If I see it again, I'm gonna call it. So that's more like it. No, but appreciate y'all tuning in. Same as you as well. And like I said, you're all good for now. There we go. All right. I know I don't promote my name as much. That may be the reason as to why you can get confused at times. So okay, I'll take responsibility for now. Let's you no. No, you're not getting that. Uh-uh. You're not starting that. You spelled high wrong too. Like, okay. All right. So, last audition tape for the season, guys, for all of our players that we want to root for. One of the things that I want to talk about as we watch our last game of the season, you know, sorry, Wallace, how's it going? Tony Wright popping in. Nice, nice. Like I said, shout out to Atlanta Nation as well. So I'm going to go through three different categories for our players because there's a lot to hang on. I'm messing around too. But yeah, there's a lot riding on this last game for a lot of these folks on our team. 20 something of our roster spots are going to be incomplete by the end of this offseason. And it's going to be difficult. But some of these guys, we're just going to have to suck it up and keep them on to them for just another season. So we're going to get into who those people could be. And the first one I want to talk about, who's got the most to gain from having a good performance for his last game of the season, especially against the Aints, man. Have you seen this? Yeah, I still do whiteboard stuff. Yeah, this is what happened since our last game against them. So on the left side, we got the Falcons. On the right side, we got who cares? If you noticed, we've been both 3-5 since our last meeting. It was like, well, they beat Tampa Bay. Yeah, they also lost to Miami at home. So yeah, you ain't getting that slack from me. So let me see some of your votes. Who's got the most to gain? Get that back up. From a good performance, if they do so. Because let's be honest, we're talking about the people that haven't probably shown up all season, but this might be their last time they become a starter in their career. Let's just talk about it for a second, you know? You know, we got to vote for Dante Fowler himself. Absolutely. If he wants to get that starting pass rusher money, he's got to show up. I got my dogs barking in the background. We are keeping this show alive by the hopes and dreams of all of y'all. Jarvis with John Harmon. Again, I've shouted him out a couple of times and not in the right way. I mean, I've spoken up against him. Which means, yes, he's definitely going to be, like, this is his first time actually being a starter. I don't know what the heck's going on outside. But, yeah, this is first season that guy's an actual starter. You know, I want to see more, especially from our younger secondary that's going to be behind these guys in Jalen Hawkins and Richie Grant especially. You got to do something. Unless you're just there for like in between the weekdays, but that doesn't help us on Sunday. Like that doesn't help us win unless if you're trying to go for the long haul, long term helping us out, kind of like with the like a Joe Horn to Roddy White situation. Like unless if you're like that good in between like the film rooms and all that kind of stuff, I need to see your production on the field, bro. So I can't. Something's going on. Do you see the Falcons are signing Cordell Patterson? They need to at least for a short minute. Oh my gosh, I don't know if y'all can hear that. I can definitely hear it, and I'm trying my best to not think about it, but at least a short deal. Can't give him too much money because of the deficiency in his carries. Okay, man, why they got to do this right away? Right, it's not even 6 minutes into my show. That's ridiculous. Okay, but yeah, Cordell Patterson definitely needs to be back at least one more year until we figure out a valid option there to replace his production, especially how he can confuse the personnel packaging of a defense. That's his key attribute. Just like with Deebo Samuel over in San Francisco. I don't want to talk anything positive about San Francisco, so I'm just going to keep it at that. But unless if we get someone to cover up for that production, whether that be splitting him up into two different people, having an actual solid running back and an actual solid wide receiver, his talents are still good for here. And I don't want to see him ruined again by another team that doesn't know how to use him. So, yes, bring back Cordell Patterson, because when I get his jersey, I want it to still matter. You know what I said during your last two shows, those two trades for draft picks, Calvin Ridley and a second-round draft pick, Deion Jones for a third-round draft pick. Keep it coming, man. I have a third category. He's going to fit in that one just fine. Don't worry. But yeah, I have a strong sense that could happen, especially with how much money is being tied to him right now. I think Mike Davis can have a lot to, yeah, because the running game, it's had its moments, right? More so because of the offensive line, specifically the left side of the offensive line. But it's just why? What is happening? But we're keeping moving, and the show must go on. With the productivity of Mike Davis, it's a bit difficult to gauge whether that's him or it's just the product of the offensive line itself. I don't know how much credit I would give to him, as far as like the running game having its effective moments versus just you plug in anyone and they'd probably do better. We've seen that with Quadri Allison at moments too. So Kayla McGarry, that's an interesting one. As far as like the respect that he could get from the fan base, possibly, because one thing that the Aints have is a pass rush, because they do it all the freaking time against everybody. So yeah, Kayla McGarry, you're going to have to exist. You're going to have to show up and show your worth. And you too, Matt Hennessy, especially up in the middle, facing against like David Onyemata and whoever they want to throw up in there in the middle. It's just going to be a cluster of people that you just don't want to see have good things happen to them. Funny Wright saying resign Foye to long-term deal trade our 5th-round draft pick to the Ravens for Jalen Ferguson. Trade our 6th-round draft pick for Osain Jimenez. I believe that's how you say it, right? Okay, yeah, you can hear it. Thank goodness I'm not going crazy. But that could help us for depth purposes as well. Like I said, back when we did the shows a couple weeks ago with me and Davon, we realized that like only one outside linebacker is on our roster as of next year, and that's Ogundeji. So yeah, need all the help you can get over there. You'll need to watch that Mike Tett from the Buffalo game with Lee Smith. Oh yeah, it's great to see him having fun. So I think Hennessy is going to get replaced and let go. So about that, how much do you trust Drew Dahlman there, or do we just like scrap whoever we have in that room and just like, hey, let's just get a veteran, probably draft someone else? You know, do we go with like Linderbaum? Do we go with like, just throwing a name out there, Ben Jones from Tennessee from the free agency pool? If he's available, he might be restricted. There might be that kind of sacrifice you have to give up in order to get a player like him. Got to watch out for that. So, but yeah, I think my pick for the most to game, I'm going to go one answer on both sides of the ball. One guy, Hayden Hurst. He's my pick for the offense because we've, my goodness, what is going on? This is likely going to be his last game as a Falcon. So we got to make sure that it counts for him because, we want him to have a good career, knowing his story and knowing that he can, still become a great player in the NFL. I don't know if we were like considerably holding him back, but there's just a part of you that just wants to root for him, and he's my pick for that. On the defensive side, who do I think is going to have the biggest impact, like the most to gain? It'd be weird. It'd be a little bit weird if I said this name, but I'm going to go with it. Fabian Moreau. If he can get himself a good performance, which he kind of did last game that we faced him, honestly, they're not going to really have much of a quarterback, whether it's going to be Taysom Hill or, yeah, they're not throwing a book out there. Yeah, okay, so then if they're not really going to be passing the ball all that much, it's going to be hard for him to have a good game, So my next pick after that, Marlon Davidson. So, because I just saw his name thanks to Jarvis. Do you feel that if Marlon Davidson doesn't show up, he'll be a potential cut through, though he has potential? He's been with the team since, last year, and has shown little. After those trades of draft picks, one first rounder, 2 second rounders, 3 third rounders, 2 fourth rounders, a 7th round draft pick, and some compensatory picks. I don't know what draft picks on those. Probably rounds like 3 through 5 or something. We can all agree that there will be a lot of guys that have the most game. Absolutely. They're fighting for roster spots, essentially. Like, this is their last chance in order to either stay on this team or get paid somewhere else. So if you don't show up now when you have everything to play for and not much else to lose, how do you not, give it your all there? Quick little thing. I want to give one honorable mention, unless I want to give him his own category, because he's not a player. Offensive coordinator Dave Ragone. You have the most to gain here. So, dude, take your chances. Be as aggressive as you want to be. Take out everything in your playbook. Just, if it works, right? We need to pull out all the stops, and we need to make sure that you are the guy for the job. We need to make sure that you are compensating for our lack of production in certain areas, and he'll really grow the team in what they're strong at. So figure out everything that we're good at It's not a long list, guys. So you got to just narrow that down and unleash that side of this team. If it's the run game, unleash the run game. If it's certain little nooks and crannies of a passing game that you can throw out there, unleash it. Just do it. Trick plays, go for it. You have so much to gain by giving us an interesting matchup. So why not take it if if you feel as if your job is secure, right? This is your last game. You want to spoil your division rival, make sure they don't make it to the playoffs. You have to pull out all the stops. Obviously, I'm less scared of them than when we originally faced them, and we did just fine there. So I feel like their team's gotten substantially worse. Like I said, we've been both 3-5, faced similar opponents, and have similar records to each other. Matter of fact, they didn't even give the Bills a fighting chance in their own spot. We played at Buffalo in the snow, well, kind of, and gave them a run for the money for the most part. You got to consider something like that, too. Okay. Interesting with your positional values for your picks. I do like the double edge rushers in the second round. Take both of your picks, use them on edge rushers. I know that really narrows down how much you can spread out, but we need to build a nucleus of a defense. We need to rebuild that. You have to have 2 edge rushers, guys. We can't just deal with one and then have a committee over the other side doing goodness knows what. So, hey, make them a cohesive unit. Let them build upon each other. Can you stop barking, please? And we're going to be good for a long time in that category if we were just giving those guys a chance to just really grow. And I know that Dean Pease hasn't really trusted the pass rush, but that's because nobody that we have on our team right now is getting there. That's why our sack numbers are the lowest of the year, because we just don't trust it. And at the times, we were winning without having to worry about it. So take that for what it's worth. All right, it's calling out Marlon Davidson. Whew. And hey, Tony, you were really high on him for a long time. So yeah, something's got to give there. Don't care if the wide receiver core struggle to pass to get separation. We have nothing to lose and pull out everything. Exactly. Because everybody on this team is fighting for a spot. Everybody. Correct. He does the game planning. Do you see the Falcons trading back to get more picks in the upcoming draft? I know it's a little early. No, we definitely talked about drafts a couple of times before that, so you got on being early or too late. I think it might help them, but at the same time, as Tony Wright mentioned, we have a lot of picks already. And if there's no one that we're really targeting at in the front, sure, go ahead and trade back, get more collateral for your future. But if there is a guy that you want there in that, 9 to 13 pick range, I'd say get them, because that's the higher ceiling that you can get if you put them on the right spot. Depending on who you get, can be tremendously valuable by not trading back. We were in a similar situation last year when we drafted Kyle Pitts. It was like, all right, well, heck, worst case scenario, we get the best player in the draft. You really don't lose in that situation unless if you trade back and then not get the proper value for it. So we need to figure out where we land in the draft positioning before we figure out what value that holds to certain teams. And a lot of the conversation about certain players are going to spike up their draft stock is going to increase, and players that we've been talking about for a while, they might get found out by certain other analysts and experts and all that kind of stuff because they were so on the job about it this time. Like certain players will rise from this draft board and just, oh, hey, this guy's a top 10 pick because I found out about him last week. Never really heard about him the entire college season, but hey, believe me, this guy is a good one. I had to bring the mug back. Let's see, get my thing up here. Yes, exactly. The guy that, racked up a bunch of stuff. The guy that says that, hey, I just like being able to just beat someone up and get paid for it. Where is that side of you, dude? Do you think some young players will get more rest this upcoming game? Absolutely. The depth pieces that we have are especially going to benefit from this type of game. Like I said, everyone's fighting for a roster spot. But more so the guys that need this last game on their resume in order to show teams like, hey, I can be good for you, or to at least show the Falcons, hey, I can be good for you if you give me the proper chance. But then there's also the side effect of this is, well, where were you during the rest of the season if you just wanted to show up and be good now just because of the paycheck is lurking around the corner? I know it's very much a what have you done for me lately type of league, but this is why you need to go out in style. You need to go out in a way where the coaches, the fans, everybody, like your own teammates, they will remember your performance. So, hey, just get on the field, give it everything. You don't need to be motivated at this point. Arthur Smith has already mentioned to us, like, dude, if you need to be motivated every single week, you're not for us. You're not the right type of person for us. But just think of the consequences for us as a fan base and as a franchise moving forward. Like, heck, if you do bad and we kind of told you that we needed to rely on you, yeah, that's not going to leave a good taste in our mouths about you. So definitely bring in some more younger talent. But let's move on to who's got the most to lose. Let's say if they have that dud performance, who's just going to be like, all right, well, yeah, you're probably not going to be starting ever again in the NFL. I want to think about a couple players, maybe on both sides on that as well. Well, Smith says we have a lot of holes to fill, so we can go any direction. I would still go with the best player available with the first pick. And that's Terry's MO too. So glad we can all be in agreement on that. We have a NASCO J _ from Twitch. How's it going? Ethan, oh my God, why did I show that? Oh my God, okay, I need to look at these comments before I put them up here. Jeez. Okay. Yeah, now I'm reading your stuff now. I'm reading everybody's stuff because I ain't going to get got like that again. Jeez. Gotta be a little bit more careful this time around. Okay. Now I gotta get to this point where I gotta validate y'all's comments, man. That's because. Okay. Let's move on. Let's just pretend that didn't happen. I don't want to hear any more comments of that in the following next couple of minutes or the rest of the stream or the rest of the year. Remember, fellow Falcons fans, the more picks we pick up in the draft, the more money we'll have to pay out for those players. It may be cheaper, but we don't have money. That's the downside of things too. Trying to spread the wealth a little bit too much, but then you're leaving certain players dry. Are leaving them hanging out to dry. So Thanks. I did not get it. So, let's see. Can't believe I have to do this now. But the first thing is going to be how much money we're going to have to get for good free agent players. Right. I spend so much time on social media, like an elementary school teacher, bro. Honestly, I used to be an after school program teacher, so that was a fun year and a half of just going around to different schools. Didn't really know much of the layout of the schools. Didn't really know much of the environment of the school. You know, like the feel of the school. I didn't really know most of the kids in the class because I was bounced around. It like there was like around a 2 month stretch. I was just being jumped back and forth to different schools that I've never even been to before, and then had to like take care of like 20 kids. Whew, that was tough, but hey, at least I was 17 at the time. Jeez, how did they let me get away with that? Vlad is in the chat. How's it going? So, that's what I like about this. Gets right to this point. But yeah, wide receiver core has. I'm assuming you're going to talk about like the most to lose. Yeah, they definitely have a lot to lose because if they don't show up and get separation, yikes. And I'm talking everybody on that group. From Russell Gage down to Frank Darby. If you can't show up now, when will you ever show up? Because they ain't secondary. They ain't like ours. All right? They ain't not as good as ours. And we've exploited that the last time. That's why even Cordero Patterson can go up against, Paulson and Debo for a huge game. Bridget, how's it going? I think they will play more of the players on one-year contracts to secure who they will keep or not. I definitely like that decision in order to make sure, hey, it's your moment. We're probably not going to pay you, but you need to step up because other teams are paying attention to your performance as well on seeing, hey, how did they finish out the season? When everything was on the line, when they got emotions riled up, you got to give it your best. Are we going to talk about Ridley and the Falcons looking to part ways? Be a very short conversation because, yeah, what can you do? I mean, look, for those that have like paid attention to my shows, they've known I've always tried to stay out of the conversation because it wasn't my answer. It wasn't my question to ask or to answer. And now that we're seeing more reports being surfaced, it just kind of, you had a feeling of it even if you didn't want to say it. But yeah, let's just say that Ridley, he got what he wanted. End of discussion. That's basically all we can say at this point. So yeah, let's put that back up on there because I feel like we might be swaying from the original topic of the what the comments say. Thank you for not noticing. Didn't get a chance to see it, and I'm glad you didn't. So don't scroll back up. All right, don't do it. Yeah, that's why. Don't worry. Oh boy. Exactly. So let's see how. Yep. We're also type game. That's why I said, hey, this is your last audition tape. Better get through with your training, making sure that you are up to par with the rest of the starters. Jarvis says, I think the NFL will start amending contracts when dealing with mental health and other issues that may arise with players. Rich hunters don't like to waste money or lose money. Yeah, a lot of problems with money. Wrong people in the wrong power with too much money in order for them to know what to do with it. Big problem. But yeah, Tyler Davidson, he's got so much to lose. If he doesn't do anything in order to negate the Route 96 on him, I'm sorry, but your possible playing days are done. It's just and like many others, I don't want to see you be the reason as to why we given up so much rushing yards. Now, I know that you weren't there starting against Buffalo. That just means that your essence still lingers on the field for us, and I don't want that to continue to be the case. All right, Brett, actually, we will be better. We will. You know, I don't know if you guys caught this, but I took a look at the upcoming schedule of who we might face. Whew, the doozy. For next week's or for next season's schedule, let me talk for a second. We have the AFC North and the NFC West again to deal with. Home and away games, and then we're kind of be dipping our toes around some of the other, like however we fall, we might be on like the third plate. And I think if we beat, when we beat Nolans, we'll be second place in the division. And we'll take on some of the other second place teams in other divisions. So I want to see Debo step it up. Yeah, making sure that we get the most of his trade value. Gives us a little bit more leverage in the offseason for a trade, speaking of money. Exactly. Right. Get a wide receiver one. You know, we need this offense to be unleashed, to be how we remembered it being. So yeah, need I say more? But right. Mike Pennell and Anthony Rush have never let the Bills run them that way. Two of the biggest guys in the front seven. So it kind of lets you know something was a little bit off. It may have been like their footing, but something's got to give there. But yeah, with the most to lose, Mike Davis. Come on, Mike Davis. Last time, you nearly squandered our opportunity of winning at Nolans. So you better not do that again, because otherwise, you're out of here. And like our running back room is thin as it is. So by us confidently being able to say, hey, listen, stop. We gotta cut this out. You know, you are not worth it. You know, we can say that because we have a 18 game track record or 18 week track record. So Gaudry, not as much. I mean, there's not as much like financial stake on him. That's why, he's not really the starter. So not to say that he gets more slack, but yeah, if Mike Davis gets cut, you better believe anyone that's considered worse than him is going to leave too. So, Yeah, believe it or not, there may be a chance that that happens too. Like I said, I mean, maybe Kyle Pitts, maybe Younghoe Koo, but is he on the last year of his deal? Ugh, a lot to think about. Bubba Gump, if any of the wide receivers want a chance to stick around, they got to learn how to catch in traffic and be able to take hits. You know, that's a good quality, and it's also a common quality in other receivers too. You know, show that you're tough in order to get your hands in the ball, make sure it stays in your hands. If someone touches you, this is the number one priority. You're gonna get hit anyways. So why make it a matter of, oh well, maybe if I use my hands in order to protect myself? Don't do it. Because catch with these hands, you're gonna catch these hands from us. Just as a collective message from all of us. Catch with these hands, or you're gonna catch these hands. That's it. So I see void years in Ryan's future. I think it's already possible, like at the end of next season. So I think anything after 2023 would be a voidable year. It would shock me if we do trade Ryan. Sounds like smoke to drive up quarterback in the draft. Yeah, especially because there's, as much as we want to believe that there isn't like that Trevor Lawrence prospect, or there isn't like that Andrew Luck prospect. There isn't that like clear cut number one quarterback right now, or at least like a trio, or whatever you want to consider. The quarterback position has a hard time being elevated. But of course, like if Mel Kiper or whatever wanted to elevate Zach Wilson up to the number 2 spot, heck, how much of a possibility is it really? He's got every right to say that too, if he really wants to be like, you know what, I'm tired of this. I'm tired of getting hit, being the most hit quarterback every single year. You know? Got Luke Walsh, Niners fan chiming in. Hope you beat the Saints on Sunday. Yeah, there's a certain element of respect to other teams that you need to have, because, heck, when the going gets tough, there may be some other teams that are not yours that you need to be rooting for. That's why you got to say, hey, careful what you say to certain other people, because you might end up having to root for them even at your own peril. But just going to let you know, we want to beat the Saints to please us. All right? We're not doing it for the sake of other teams. All right, let's just keep it real. James Moore says, we're not really tough, but in few years in trades and draft, we will be. I don't even know how much you want to be able to be dependent on trading, but drafts are something that we have a lot of stake in. So, Richard Grundy says, would you take a wide receiver before a running back up in the draft? Yes, but I don't know the name. Obviously, like guys like Alex Edwards and the rest of you guys, Vlad, the rest of you guys that want to talk about the draft and upcoming prospects, you guys will have more insight on that and being like who could fall where. There's been good talks about like Jameson Williams coming up in the first round. I've seen like mock drafts where people would draft Traylon Burks in the second round, so that could be a possibility. but I like my idea and a few other people's ideas as well of drafting 2 pass rushers in the second round because it's such a deep class in that position group, and it's such a big need for us moving forward. Getting Dean Pease 2 pass rushers that he can trust, along with the third one that we already have on our team in Grady Jarrett, so beneficial. So making sure of that. Yeah. You know what? If there's one receiving core that I would put in contention with ours, it would be New Orleans. So, yeah, that's right. Call y'all out. I think we're going to resign Matt, possibly meaning extension. Yeah, to a 2-year extension to lower his cap hit. But exactly, yeah, I always want to win besides y'all. Of course. You better believe that we're doing this for us and not for anyone else. So, but yeah, I like that you're thinking alongside me. Hey, speaking of Twitch comments, J Rock is in here. How's it going? Everybody shouts out to him and everybody else in the Twitch area. Hey, we get posted on like Twitch, YouTube, Facebook. So I sometimes forget that's like, oh, hey, YouTube's not the only platform. And no matter where you are, I can see your comments. So wherever you decide to be, wherever you happen to be, you better believe I can still see what you have to say for us. As long as it's relevant to the topic, all right? George Pickens, yeah, definitely heard about him. XO Honey Love with the J Rock raid. Love to see it, especially for Twitch. Got a shout out from the guy that I just spoke about. Gotta check out what Maggie Sanders did against Bama. Maggie? My goodness, I'm definitely sounding like my former substitute after school teacher self. Hey, let that J Rock raid go. Keep it coming, y'all. As his email. Get used to it. Okay, yeah, he's a edge rusher for Cincy. So you're saying he might fall to the second round for us? Exactly. Nice. I have heard some good things about Drake London as well from USC. Brock Bowers in a few years. What position is he? They call me Yeezy. There's been beliefs that Matt Ryan will not be the quarterback next year. It's a possibility, but it's not a guarantee. Okay, it's pronounced Myj. I hope I'm, you can get like the help of the pronunciation, and then you can somehow mess that up. Please let me know that I'm getting that correctly. Chagandi says best available wherever we pick a pass rusher, a wide receiver, a running back in that order. Yeah, and then you got to focus on like outside linebackers. You got to think about what's your value at the safety position moving forward, because as much as you want like they're good 2 pieces to be starting that you already have, depth is always an issue when it comes to us on defense. So okay, he's a tight end. Good to know. London would be ideal with the second round pick. I see him going late first. Alex agrees. Not the second. Okay. Clay Melton says London or Burks with the first pick, then an edge. Our offense may be worse than our defense. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Hey, Dave Ragone, you better step up because you better make these players look good. Because if you can't make them look good when they're not really that good, how great can they be when they're already good to begin with? I want to see the ceiling of these players being lifted up. You know, we kind of did it for Pitts. We did it for Patterson. Those are really the only two people that have really stood out this season. Gage, he's been fine for what we've had to use with him. But that wide receiver talent especially needs to be bulked up. Beef it up as much as you can. Just beef. Okay? Few people have him going in the first. Okay. Yeah, likely go up, but I'm being optimistic. Yeah. You never know. I mean, there's always certain teams that just don't know how to draft properly. You know, you can always count on that. So the last thing that I want to get to, can blank be saved? It's saying, hey, can this player have a redeemable game for our team moving forward if they play good enough? All right, I'm going to throw out a name, and you tell me in the chat, can this player be saved with a good enough of a performance? All right. Matt Hennessy. Can he be saved? If he has a good enough performance, how much would you trust him to be a starting center next year? Let's say, hey, we don't allow a single quarterback hit. You know, and then we start rushing up the middle like crazy. Let's see what the comments have to say. All right. So we got a sure from Alex Edwards. We got a no from Wallace Smith. We got an interesting take from Vlad saying, yeah, he isn't even the biggest issue on the line. Jarvis with a no. Bridget Kelsey with a H no. Excuse her language. All right, we got a fence rider, Atlanta Nation. You better hop on the either side. All right, let's say, hey, best case scenario, he doesn't allow a single quarterback hit when we're throwing the ball and running up the middle. We get like 100 yards rushing on the game. Would that be enough in order to suffice everything that he's done in that position group? Because what I would like to see for us moving forward is a reliable center that we can depend on for a long time, regardless of who the quarterback is, too. You know, Alex might say he's even getting better at handling bull rushers. Put James Moore with a no. Gray Melton's going to give him a chance, so he might say yeah with one more season though. Penny Wright is thinking, okay, hey, get him out here. I don't care what you do right now. Okay, so you're kind of in the 40% range. I don't know what that means, but you are 40%. People that dip and rip against him and bend have a high likelihood of getting pressure. If you're that easy to read, whew. Well, let's see. I mean, he might be easy to read, right? But those also seem like something with enough technique and enough time over the offseason that he could develop into handling those situations better. Especially when he has to realize that Jalen Mayfield's still kind of learning how to play the left guard position. So if he can get enough help from that side as he does Chris Lindstrom on his right, you know. But yeah, he is trying to save his career because, you know, they drafted Drew Dahlman right behind him. And they were just fine with swapping him out. And if it means that, hey, they get more production by using a rotation there. You know, I've never really seen anything like it. So I've wanted to agree with that too, right? His lack of strength might start to show up more in the run game. That's a problem too. We've definitely seen some pushback. Like when we need those short-yarded situations, we have a hard time trusting ourselves to go up in the middle, whether that be in some certain, dive concepts or like a quarterback sneak, for example. Sometimes we've been good at it. Other times it's just been like, oh my goodness, like Matt Hennessy, you're not the quarterback, so don't take a 7-step drop back. This was literally his real first season. Tis true. He also spent, I think he started about 2 games from last year though, because Alex Mack. But that being said, he did spend time with Alex Mack. So hopefully, after kind of having like what 2.5 years of experience with Matt Ryan, and being in the locker room with Alex Mack, you think that might have done something in order to elevate him. We need a veteran center who can call the protections, and he can't do it. So Ryan's been doing it along with trying not to be murdered. And yet, I'm seeing over here, according to, I don't know if I want to shout out his name, a certain CBS guy. He's over here trying to say, like, yeah, well, Matt Ryan, he's barely better than Ben Roethlisberger right now. He's barely better than Baker Mayfield right now. But, yeah, he's definitely not as good as certain other quarterbacks like Trey Lance and Justin Fields. I'm like, get out of here, Cody. Whoops, I think I just said his name. You need to drop the left guard, not a tackle and move him to guard, or center and guard and move him to left guard. We need to make sure that a pure left guard out of college, like that kid, I don't remember his name at the moment, from Iowa. I don't know how far back you're thinking of, but maybe Brandon Scherf is an answer. If you want more recent of an example, I don't know if I can give it to you off the top of my head, but I got 40% on him trusting to be the starter. Good to know. So you're still kind of like, I don't really care about you right now. But I do like the idea of, hey, get more accustomed to your athleticism, because, and on the other side of that too, like I still want to say that, hey, maybe help out your offensive line a little bit more by calling stuff that the offensive line is good at, because you better believe that an offensive line that is good at something can benefit all of your position groups. So, if you're not calling something that is to their liking or something that they thrive at doing, then you're letting the rest of the offensive players suffer because of it. So, again, Dave Ragone. And if it's not you, Arthur Smith, you got to help out your offensive line. And I can't believe that, we got to say this about him. But we got to see it happen. We've seen it happen too. And it's like that's the frustrating part. It's that we've seen what our offense is capable of when everything is clicking on the offensive line. But it doesn't happen all the time. And it's not because, we're just facing a bad opponent. No. We've faced some really good run defense. We faced some really good pass rush. Held them to nothing at sometimes. And then the next game, we just let everything happen in the backfield. And that's what's just so baffling to us. So I think the consensus, it's almost like a just split down the middle on Matt Hennessy. So I was not expecting that. Let me throw out another name then, because I don't think we're ever going to get away from the center position if I don't change the topic. This is going to be difficult regarding this player because he cannot play for this game in order to really let his performance on the field speak for himself. But I'm going to throw out another guy out there. I'm going to flip it over to the defensive side. Can Eric Harris be saved? throw that one out there. See what kind of reactions we get from that name. Can Eric Harris be saved? Now, what might that look like? Because, I've obviously seen some situations where he has done his best in order to get in the right spots. So if other players aren't doing their job and we see the comparison of what he looks like in that position versus another player there, is there enough of a jump for him to be like, okay, well, maybe we'll trust you a little bit more than who we have? But it's an interesting take because, just like my Hennessy, people are very polarized about their feelings towards Eric Harris. So I want to see where we fall. Last game of the season. What is our final take on Eric Harris? I'm not talking about just like the position that he plays. I'm talking about him and his talent specifically. What he's been asked to do versus what he's done versus what he's capable of doing in the future. I want to see where we stand on that. So let's take a look at who we have here. So we got a yeah from Alex Edwards. There's a technique problem in press man. Yeah, converting from safety to having to worry about press man. It's the total opposite of Rod Woodson and Charles Woodson, them making the switch from corner to safety. So a lot more to worry about when you're right there in front of the wide receiver instead of having to focus on the receivers that you're watching or the quarterback that you're watching. Sometimes it's not always a good thing. So as long as you play with your assignments correctly, that's all we want you to do. I don't want other defenders, trying to take their spot and then trying to be like, oh, hey, well, I think I can make a play if I do it with this. And then you give up the bigger play. Thankfully, that hasn't happened that badly, to the point where it's like a 40-yard gain. But it can still happen if you're not careful enough. So we got a no from Bridget Kelsey. Got one defense from Alex saying he's decent though. Wall Smith with a yes. Vlad with a second that because he's a good backup. We got Mucho Grundy with a yes. Never seen this. I've never seen anyone this enthusiastic about Eric Harris, but Clay Melton says, hey, he'll give him a passing grade. So interesting. He's not a starter, so I would bring it back as depth. Remember what we just talked about with the depth in the secondary? That could always be an issue. Hasn't really been that much of an issue for us as far as physical health, but who knows what COVID looks like by the next September, So you can also have that kind of problem strike up again and then just kind of deplete the players that we have on the roster too. Tired of having to rely on so many different people from the street, My dream LCS says if we can get Micah Person and a tier 2 D end for Kale Pitts, would you make the trade? No. I get the payoff, right? Because that could solve your pass rushing issue. But the problem with Micah Person is he's a rover. We don't have the talent to back up a rover position when it comes to linebacker / pass rusher. So that's his specialty, is being able to freelance on the front seven. What Dean Pease does in our defensive system is making sure that everyone is set, even though a person could be better off playing somewhere else. We've always talked about with AJ Terrell, not traveling the best cornerback or the best wide receiver. It's like, hey, how come this isn't happening? It's like, well, that's not what Dean Pease does. Hey, he does what the players like to do, but at the same time, that's still his defense that he's working with. Still, ain't really 100% his roster, right? But he's trying to instill the philosophy. He's trying to instill the mannerisms of what his defense should look like, right? I don't know if you get that with Parson or Person. I don't know if you would get that from just a simple tier 2 DN, whatever that means. Um, and then losing Kale Pitts as a sacrifice for that, yeah, no thanks. Especially to what he's done for us on the offensive side of the ball already, despite not having help around him, you know, or at least not enough help. There's like many other deep backs or defensive backs on our team, has to get better at securing the route. Right. Yeah, that's fine. Gotta throw out the hard questions, man. This is what Terry Fonson is going to have to be thinking about, you know? And being better at tackling. Well, yeah, that's just a universal problem for us. Jay Morris with the yeah. Good to know. Good to see you. If he's lower on the depth chart, not starting, you know, yeah, Glad agrees with you on that one. He can back up Oliver. Well, yeah, that's a good thing then, you know? It's like, hey, can he be saved? Your answer is kind of yes. You know, hey, if you bring it back for depth, we kind of knew that he wasn't going to be a starter long term. You know, given his age and given the position that we already had there, you know, as far as Hawkins and, you know, drafting Richie Grant. So he wasn't going to be the long term answer, anyways. But if he can still give us a higher floor than what we have right now, as far as the talent that we can have and the people behind the likes of Isaiah Oliver, that's huge for us. You know, not having to worry about who is behind, you know, some of the better talent on your team is a great thing to learn. It's a great thing to figure out. um, yeah, like you said, he's in the right spots and he's physical, but it's not controlled. And he didn't finish. I agree with you as well. Deion Jones is the fourth most missed tackles of all linebackers this year. Can he be saved? Oh boy, how did that stat slip our minds? Oh, wait a minute. You know, hey, if you want to throw out another name there, Deion Jones is. Yeah, that's a take. I mean, because like half of the fan base is already like trying to ship him off somewhere, in order to get draft capital for like a third or second, and then the other side is like, well, we don't really need to get rid of him because you know there's a whole salary issue that we have to think about, the debt cap that comes along with losing a player of his stature, you know, not just on the field but especially financially. So there's that sacrifice that has to be covered up somehow. Um, you know, if the team is willing, if you know, if the other team that we're trading to is willing to, you know, take up that salary, that's one thing. But like we saw with the Julio trade, sometimes you have to bite the bullet, take the payment from your own pocket in order to be like, hey, fine, ship you off because you're not worth, you know, like, hey, we will spend money on you to not be here. Like that's what that's trying to say. I don't know if I don't know if Debo will be that bad despite the statistic, but it is another interesting topic when as far as like, can this person be saved? Sorry, but earlier I had an epic battle with a mosquito. He won the first round. I don't know if you can see that bump in my arm. He won the first round, but I think I just ah jeez. Just saying you agree with the prison Bobby. But yeah, Kale Pitts. Okay, yeah, definitely a Unicron, right? uh, I was thinking, hey, he can most definitely be saved. All right, we got to buckle up, folks. We got a Twitch comment. Okay, for Ryder Drago 2. Okay. I wouldn't trade Pitts. Trade Ridley. Hey, there's an idea. But how much is he going to be worth it, though? Hey, good to see you. I haven't really heard your name, but hey, nice of you to join us on Twitch. Okay, thank you, because I saw your comment earlier. I didn't really point it up, but I was like, who the heck is O'Neal? It's like, is it someone from college that I'm not hearing about? Is it like Delta O'Neal, who never played for us? Another corner frac from the mid 2000s. I was saying I don't think our scheme fits Deion Jones. Yeah, you can say that because of how Dean Pease had to be like, hey, let's take care of this whole linebacking situation. Let's make Foye, because him being the bigger guy, let's make him the Mike, and let's let Debo kind of do his own thing on the outside. It's still like his first year at that kind of position for him. So that would be like the only kind of saving grace that you can give for Debo. But at the same time, we've seen him be a good tackler previously, though. So it's like, what is the issue here? It's not that he's not playing his spots correctly, because sometimes he has to save other people. Like what Mike we talked about from previous weeks. Like sometimes he's doing his job on top of trying to cover up somebody else's mistake. And then he can get the brunt end of the criticism at sometimes. But I think that we've been saying that for a little bit too long, if I'm being honest. So, do you see Matt Ryan getting an extension? How long do you see him playing for the Falcons in your view? In my view, I see him playing, well, obviously next year, because, but when it comes to 2023, 2024, 2025, even for me, that's kind of pushing it. So I think the window really has to open up really quickly. But it's a great thing that we all kind of collectively feel that we have like the general coaching staff capable of giving us those wins in order to prop up our team. Because, given what we have right now, any amount of wins is good, let alone, almost having as many as like the Chargers, for example. So it's like, that's kind of wild. If we were to beat the Bills, like we almost had the same record. Like that's kind of crazy to think about. So as far as, seeing him, I'd say for me, my last year for Matt Ryan would be 2024. That's like the last chance. That's like enough time for whatever you got to build for your future or for your right now kind of plan, because I think that's what we have to do, right? We have to prop up the guys that we have right now, and let's get one last hurrah. If we can't get it now, who knows? That's one of the other saving graces about Deion Jones, though. His cover skills are good. Like I said, you got to pair it up well. You got to pair him up and have something else to help him. But that being said, we've kind of seen that happen, and he still hasn't always done his job. So, yeah, Bubba Gumps and Deion definitely not looking his normal stuff. Granted, he's still playing, the will linebacker, not Mike, but still. I'd say, hey, give him one last time, one last go around. But does that mean that, hey, you're not trading him? So it's like, well, think about what you would get if you were to trade him away, and it'd be left with one, maybe two linebackers that you trust moving forward, instead of two, maybe three linebackers that you trust moving forward, knowing how thin that we are at the position. I trust any linebacker that we have right now on our roster because of how good our defense has been, whether it be from, Foye all the way down to like Emmanuel Ellerby and Dorian Etheridge. We're still here, by the way. Names that we have not forgotten from the preseason. Thank you. I think Moreau could be saved. I mean, I literally just said that he's got the most to gain. So absolutely. Nope, that's true. This season even. It's true. So maybe we're just kind of, there's still a lot of problems with well, let's see, Bridget saying Devo, straight he can say. We don't want a whole bunch of rookies out there. That's true too. It's just, who are you replacing for who? Because sometimes you want a veteran regardless of their talent just because of their experience. So yeah, he's not going to be saved. And not Tyler Davison, not Steven Means. Yeah, not most of our wide receiving core. Jeez. The all caps for it, though. How's it going, Eric Manel? Nice of you to stop by this late. But yeah, for that price or for any price, yeah, he's not going to get saved. I think we can all kind of agree on that one. Yeah. Another Villas player with attempted murder. You hate to see it. But yeah, we're all just kind of like a universal good riddance. We can replace you with a second rounder. That's kind of true though. So Ryan's playing until his sons are drafted by the Falcons. Quarterback and left tackle. But yeah, like I said, like Morrow, he's got a saving grace period for him. Sheffield, that was the other guy that I wanted to bring out too. It's like, can Kendall Sheffield be saved? He did start because of Fabio's like ribs. So that's an interesting take there too, because he's been lingering on our roster for a while, and we've barely seen him on the field because, well, he hasn't been available because he's been injured. So when you keep being injured, and then you're just kind of like the resort on special teams, and even then we kind of shown it's like, hey, barring any extra problems when it comes to recovering a fumble muffed by a punt returner, I think Marquise Williams is the right coach for at least for special teams. He definitely learned his mistakes, though. I'll say that much. Do we get any vet wide receivers or running backs, pass rusher in free agency? Maybe receiver. Just maybe. The market's still kind of thin as far as who we can acquire. Certain others that you might like might be restricted free agents. Other people that you might like might have to be traded in order to get him. But that would be the position I'd go for. Running backs are a bit more volatile when it comes to their longevity. So you can likely get another guy that wants to be there in the later rounds of the draft, so you don't have to really worry about that. But at the same time, you're kind of getting what you pay for. I do like certain guys that just fell from the draft, like Khalil Herbert, in the 6th round. When he was drafted by the Bears, I was like, dang it, we should have got him. And then for the moment, I was like, well, hey, we got Frank Darby instead. I don't I consider that. I see this as an absolute win. You know, really, that is an interesting take. Tajay could be saved. What the heck kind of highlight do you have for him? OZ, I have more good things to say about OZ than I do for Tajay. Oh, Zacchaeus is a good run blocker, and Zacchaeus can catch the freaking pass in the end zone. I know he's small, but Zacchaeus is a much better deep threat. You pair that up with whatever the heck Tajay does on the field. We're also saying JC730 Steven means please go bye-bye. Saying one more year for Sheffield. That's it, though. The secondary in general played much better than late in the year. That's true. And that's with a D-line that can't sniff a sack. Yeah. A sack is not even in their dictionary, unfortunately. Jammer's saying he's a little iffy about Sheffield, maybe for depth. That's all he's been, though. So how good has he been as a depth piece? Well, he was like the fourth guy that we had to throw in there. Mind you, this is like at the time in the beginning of the season where we trusted guys like TJ Green to be the corner. And then we got to guys like Avery Williams and Darren Hall, like guys that have not been here as long as Sheffield. And then like week 17, we need to rely on a corner. We go down our attendance sheet. There's Sheffield at the bottom. Jeez, I had to dust your name off my clipboard, but at least you can be out there. And in all fairness, he was a factor in making sure that Josh Allen did not have a good game throwing the ball. Running is a different story, but you really can't blame the corners for allowing the quarterback to run that much, especially when those were designed runs anyway. So, but yeah, to my point, like we've trusted guys above him on the depth chart in the past before already. So how good can he be versus what we could get in later rounds in the draft? I know that you might be losing your ceiling when it comes to the talent, but you're at least getting a new floor to work with. You're getting a guy with a little bit more potential now that he's younger in the league. You can mold them at this point. You can mold the new talent that you can bring in, and that I think is what they're really looking for. Having a ball of clay kind of corner again, like what they did with Isaiah Oliver, it's going to be crucial because once we get that third guy, yeah, no one's passing on us. But you gotta get the pass rushers in order to help out these corners. So that's what I'm saying. Hey, rely on your pass rushers first, and then you can kind of worry about maybe getting an extra depth corner in the later rounds, depending on how many picks that we have too. So, because one of them's got to be a punter. I know that we have Thomas Morstead. I don't know how long he can be on our team though. Because he's like 39 or something. So, got to have a punter that I like, that we can keep moving forward. Because as we've seen, field positioning definitely matters in that point. Right, you don't even have to draft one in order for them to be good. We've seen enough stories of undrafted running backs be really good at it out of nowhere. So, yeah, Tajay and Blake, sorry, but your services, they've been appreciated, but they're no longer needed. Unfortunately, that's what I got to say. Kalios Campbell next to Grady. You might mean Calais. Calais is a bit on the older side though. So how much of a factor can he be when it comes to running the ball or rushing against him and then using his pass rush skill set? don't know how much, especially potential moving forward. I don't think that we can trust on too many more like 1 year guys. As much of a good combo as they might be, you might be hurting yourself in the long run instead of building up the next guy to be there. Because at some point we're gonna have to worry about Grady's future, and then trying to find the next Grady Jarrett. Like that's gonna be a problem for us because who the heck's that gonna be if we can't rely on anybody else that we've seen so far in the past several drafts? That's gonna be an issue. So, what are we gonna do? I'm at running back. Davis isn't cutting it, and they don't seem to like Allison. You got to draft one, But as far as another free agent signing there, we've seen it be successful for us with Cordell Patterson. So maybe try to get someone with a similar skill set. Then again, who the heck is that at this point? There are some people that we like in the earlier rounds of the draft that could fit that mold, but that's too high of a price for that position, when you got to think about the needs of everything else. So unfortunately, that's another position that we might have to go cheap in the long run, and then just hopefully with our offensive system, and then with the offensive line too, right? Like if they get it together, I don't think it matters who we have at running back, because other teams and their offensive linemen, like they were doing just fine with whoever the heck they throw back there. Tennessee, for example, it was like Deontay Foreman. Hey, remember him from the preseason? Yeah, he's over there and like led the team in rushing just the other day. So if you have the offensive line that's capable of taking care of the running back's job, then anybody can feast there. Even if they're not as great as you think that they are, like, Rashad Penny. Remember him? I kind of don't. And yet he's over here having some good games against the Texans and the Lions. But still, like he's having good games nonetheless behind the Seahawks line. So you can get cheap there, and it's a bit wacky or the bit wonky when it comes to like the ceilings and floors of the talent that you get there. But I would take that risk versus the other risks that you would get for trying to rely on starters down the road in other positions as well. How many catches does Tajay Sharp have? Because I don't remember a single one of them. Yeah, Aziz, the receiver that gave Matt Ryan his longest touchdown, longest passing touchdown on his first catch too, like a 93 yards against Carolina back in 2019, and he was still like another special teams piece at that point. He wasn't even being relied on as the deep threat that we know him right now. Yeah, I kind of agree too. When though? If you could give me an example or two, if you can think of two, that would be nice. Alan Lazard would be nice, but I think he's in the books as a restricted free agent. So, how much do you like him? If you gotta, give up something in order to get Alan Lazard. Why didn't you open this there? So then he either wasn't open enough or he wasn't like the progression that they were going to. Well, when that keeps being the case, when Ryan's got to look to Gage first or like the Pitts, then Gage, then the next guy up might be Tajay or Zacchaeus. Like if they were that much in comparison, I don't know how much time that would be worth trying to figure out. Like, well, I'll take this guy over this one. It's like they're both subpar at the end of the day. Like I can see the strengths that OZ can give us, but there's also like glaring problems that he would give us if we were to rely on him too much, though. So yeah, definitely keep Oliver though. That's a must. Keep Foye too. That's just if you let that man walk away, oh, you gotta really hit everything else that you do in the free agency, and like you gotta like master everything else in the off season if you try to let that man walk away from our team. Goodness gracious. Yeah, it's an everything must go sale. I was saying, I mean, a cornerback in round one and two passers from round two would be nice. Like, as much as I want that shut down, like secondary, trust the offensive line, and then you're going to be worrying about like third round wide receivers as a maybe, and then like fourth round like running backs or whatever. Like you got to think of it that way. Still depth pieces because outside linebackers are still a problem. And maybe get one more safety. Again, I'm drafting a punter. I think it's consistent to a degree. So is Tajay. But yeah, like they're all number 3 receivers. So yeah, he has improved up to a number 2, but he's shown that he needs at least like 2 or 3 more weapons in order for him to really feast. So I know I see it all the time. Wait a minute. Rashad Penny was a first round. Was that Rashad Penny or was that CJ Prosize? I know that one of them, like as a running back, was like really taken highly, and then like Thomas Rawls came out of nowhere. Remember him? Jeez. I feel like I'm falling really behind. Oh yeah, I am falling so far behind. Jeez. I'm like trying to like scroll. I'm like, jeez, man, my thumb is moving for a long time. Okay. As he played one more game than Tajay. Um, let's see. Oh yeah, one last thing I want to ask you guys. Nope, nope. I'm just pressing everything now. Um, would you like me to stop it at like an hour and a half mark instead of me trying to go on for another 30 more minutes? Like, would you take a shorter show or a longer show for me? Because I'm probably not going to be doing Saturday nights as often. I've skipped out on a couple of them because, like, one of them, was the night before the game for me. The other week was Christmas. The other week, like this last one was like New Year's Day. I didn't want to have it mess up with anyone else's schedules when it comes to like planning things and like the viewership. So I just decided to take those days off. And then, like the other one was like my own personal thing. And then a bunch of problems happened that night. But this one would be a free Saturday for me, and I might just have the personal decision to say no. Davon, he's not going to miss it. So because he had to step away, so I'm just letting you guys know that now. So it's like if you guys are concerned about him, yeah, he's going to be MIA for a little bit. As much as I'm concerned. But we got a lot of things planned for moving forward for just AFN as a whole, you know. So guys, get excited. I will end the show off on saying one last thing because I kind of want to have like a proper ending, you know. I want to have a proper intro too, you know, and we're going to be working on that. So just keep that in mind. But a proper ending. Y'all see this? I don't know when this was made, and shout out to whoever made it. I don't know. I didn't have a name attached to it, but yeah. Just thought I'd leave that out there. I'm gonna leave that for a second because one last quick thing that I will say. Hi. One last quick thing I will say. Uh, this is almost going to be a 1 year to the date where I was driving home from my cousin's place. It was like 11 o'clock at night for me, and in the middle of the road for me in a dark area of the street because why bother put lights at night in the middle of in a street. I don't know why they don't do that in certain spots, but uh, I hit something. Now don't worry, it wasn't an animal. It was a freaking TV. It was a TV the size of my big old whiteboard here. I was like, what the heck is that doing in the middle of the road? So yeah, I was going like 35 miles an hour when I had to like just pump the brakes and be like, oh crap. I stayed in a nearby parking lot trying to like call people to learn to like pick it up because shards of glass was everywhere. Trying to like stop people on the road, and it did not end all that greatly. Like my car is still how did I get a TV? I didn't get a TV. I hit a TV with my car. How did I hit a random TV? Great question. I've never been able to answer it properly. Um, so yeah, didn't see it coming, but it's like 45-inch TV just in the middle of the road, and I took a look. Like I went to a nearby like dealer and I tried to figure out what's the damage that it did to my car. It was like $300 or something. I've never really paid it because it's not that bad of a dent in my car. What happened to Ian Book? The Dolphins happened to him. Uh, yeah, and then 2 years ago, almost around this time, I bought. I'm just gonna take this back out. I bought a zebra. I want to like keep that as it is, but let me explain it to you anyway. So it was the name of an electric scooter company, and at the time I was still kind of looking for my own vehicle because I had one in the works, but it wasn't really all that good. So I decided, hey, I'm gonna give this a try, and boy, looking back on that deal, it was tremendous. It was $100 a month to ride an electric scooter around that goes around like 30 miles an hour on a good day. And it takes about 4 hours to charge it. Pretty good battery. Get like 50 miles to go with it. And they were charging $100 a month for that. I was like, goodness gracious, this is such a steal of a job. Like, this is like, it's so good because, when you have your car payments, you got, you're probably like either lease it or rent it or whatever the case may be. It's tough to own a car nowadays. I do it, but that's a different story because it was a gift. Yeah, it was baffling of an idea to me. So I rode that for a couple of months, and then I got a message from them saying, "Hey, we're going to take all of our zebras back for maintenance." And then they came by, collected up my zebra, and then never saw that again. And I looked back a couple months later and let her check on like what they were doing. And yeah, they jacked up the prices like a ton because they realized how much of a steal that deal was. If you wanted insurance, like if you wanted free repairment of it, it was an extra $20 a month. So I was spending $120 a month to go anywhere I wanted. But the problem is that I was on a scooter and I had to wear a helmet at all given times, because I'd be a safe boy like that. And yeah, that was a phenomenal 4 months of a trip. I got to literally go wherever I wanted, had no issues as far as like, you know, payment or like repairs and all that kind of stuff. Now, I did fall on it, and that was a tough stretch because had I not been wearing a mask, I would have been basically jawless. So, yeah, thank goodness that didn't happen. It was like a training mask, so it had like more like plastic stuff in front of it. But yeah, that's the story I'm gonna leave you with. Like the crash happened in like May. Then like a couple weeks after that, they took it away from me. But then that very same weekend, I got gifted the SUV that I drive now. So I'm doing just dandy. All right, guys, thanks a lot for sticking around with me for hearing my story for a little bit. I don't know if I'm gonna end off my shows with the story like that, but let me know if you guys like that. So looking out for new ideas in order to keep y'all happy. And as always, see ya. Last chance to say goodbye, y'all. 5, 4, 3, 2, no. All right, see ya.